Hi there, readers. It's time to read chapter 2 from our book, Indian Shoes. The title of this chapter is called, Don't Forget the Pants! As Ray and Grandpa Half Moon climbed a flight of stairs to the front terrace of the rented mansion, Jonah appeared to greet them. Welcome to the wedding, he said. I believe, Ray, Grandpa began, smoothing his church tie, that you and the groom have some business to attend to. Grandpa was right. That afternoon, Jonah, a Polish Mennonite from Chicago, was marrying their friend Nancy Lee, a Choctaw girl who'd moved to town from Norman, Oklahoma. She'd been friends with the Half Moons for only a year or so, but being that every kid in the bride's and groom's families was a girl, Ray had agreed to pitch in as their ring bearer. Ray had never been to a wedding before. He knew he'd have to carry the ring down an aisle in front of a lot of staring people and worse, a video camera. Ray's stomach flopped and flipped just thinking about it, but he was looking forward to the wedding cake. Jonah bent down in his gray tux. This was my grandmother's wedding ring, he explained, digging it out of his breast pocket. Today, it'll become Nancy Lee's. Ray watched as Jonah set the white gold band in his palm. Tiny diamonds glittered. The metal felt cool in Ray's hand. Sure is pretty, said Grandpa, who was carrying Ray's belt, socks, and dress shoes. I'll take good care of it, Ray said, curling his fingers tight. He looked down at his fist and then handed the ring to Grandpa. We'll take good care of it. Jonah grinned, all bright blue eyes and dimples. I'd appreciate that, Jonah said. As it turns out, Nancy Lee remembered everything except a pillow to carry it on. Ray couldn't understand why he'd need a pillow to carry the ring. He'd been carrying things his whole life without a pillow. That's how it goes with weddings, Grandpa said, slipping the ring into his jacket pocket. This or that always goes wrong. And right here you can see Jonah handing the ring to Ray. Ray and Grandpa Half Moon walked past a window framed in forest green velvet curtains, climbed a spiral staircase, strolled down a hallway with fuzzy burgundy wallpaper, and joined the groomsmen in an upstairs bedroom. A row of rented gray tuxes and crisp white shirts had been hung in the closet, and Grandpa pulled out the smallest sizes in each after handing Ray his belt, socks, and dress shoes. This'll look mighty handsome on you, Grandpa said, leaving on the plastic wrap. Ray headed toward the bathroom to get dressed for the wedding. Need any help? Grandpa called, shaking hands with the best man. Nope, Ray said. I'll be okay. He'd already tried on the tux at the fitting, and Ray figured once he dressed, he could always ask for Grandpa's expertise with a tie. He didn't want to look like a little kid in front of the groomsmen. When Ray shut the heavy door behind him, he was happy to find a full-length mirror on the back of it. In no time, he'd pulled off his Cubs t-shirt and neon purple sweatpants. He'd hooked the two hangers over the crystal doorknob and torn away the plastic covering his crisp white shirt. Before long, he had it on and buttoned straight. Ray thought he looked just fine in the shirt and his 2-day-old trim from Bud's barbershop. Feeling braver, he decided to take on the bow tie. The bow itself was already tied, and there was a little hook and a little loophole for fastening around the collar. Aha, Ray thought, I can do this. I won't even need Grandpa's help. Seconds later, Ray studied his reflection in the mirror, wearing the bow tie just right. Now it was time for the jacket and slacks. But when he slipped the gray jacket off the hanger, its matching pants were nowhere to be found. The second hanger was empty. Ray quickly pulled on the jacket, opened the bathroom door a crack, and called for Grandpa Half Moon. How you doing in there? Grandpa asked, walking over with a white rosebud boutonniere. Boutonniere, that's a different word, right? A boutonniere is a fancy flower to pin on a suit jacket for a fancy event like a wedding. So Grandpa's bringing him his boutonniere to pin on his jacket. Ray stepped back from the door to let him in. No pants, he said, holding up the empty hangers. Can you double check in the closet? Grandpa set the boutonniere on the counter and sped off, while Ray waited in the bathroom. A couple of minutes later, Grandpa returned and shut the bathroom door. No pants, Grandpa Half Moon confirmed. I checked 3 times. They could still hear the groomsmen laughing outside about who knew what, but in the bathroom, nothing seemed too funny. Ray shifted his weight from one sock-clad foot to another. I can't go out there in my underwear, he said, holding up his neon purple sweatpants. Can I just wear these? I don't reckon so, Grandpa answered. Everybody'd be staring at you instead of Nancy Lee. Rap, 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 came a knock on the bathroom door. Ray and Grandpa heard the best man's friendly voice. 10 minutes until showtime, he said. Can't we just get another pair of pants? Ray asked. Grandpa shook his head. Not in 10 minutes, but I have another idea. Grandpa excused himself to see if any of the guests were sporting pants Ray's size. Meanwhile, Ray paced and puttered and made faces at himself in the mirror. 6 minutes later, Grandpa Half Moon returned empty-handed. The only other kids at the wedding were frilly girls, he reported, the kind with lace and bows. Too bad I can't borrow your pants, Ray said, but I'd drown in them. For another minute, Ray and Grandpa tried to come up with a solution. They even thought about Grandpa pitching in for Ray becoming the oldest ring bearer ever, but they decided he couldn't do that without specifically being asked. Then Grandpa Half Moon stepped out to talk to the best man about handling the ring delivery, but he'd already left with the groomsmen to usher, so Grandpa searched for someone else. But the groom was talking to his daddy in one room, and the bride was hugging her auntie in the other. No luck, Grandpa announced, returning to Ray. He glanced at his pocket watch. We've got about 1.5 minutes. Ray felt like his bow tie was strangling him. I can't go out there half naked, he replied. Grandpa looked from his own pants to Ray's bare legs. Maybe you can borrow my slacks after all. At least it's worth a try. At the last rap, 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 rap knock, Ray stared at his reflection. He looked smart enough in the white shirt, tux jacket, white rosebud boutonniere, and Grandpa's church slacks rolled at the waist, leg bottoms held tight by his own leather belt. He grinned at Grandpa, standing there in his boxer shorts, and said, It'll do. You look like your daddy did back when he got married, Grandpa said, except shorter, don't you know? As a heart began to sing, Ray marched out of the bathroom, through the hallway with a fuzzy burgundy wallpaper, down the spiral staircase, and past a window framed in forest green velvet curtains, barely in time to start down the aisle. The maid of honor led him in front of the line of bridesmaids to a little girl no older than 5. She gripped a basket of white rose petals and stared at him with scared, watery eyes. Ray couldn't help feeling sorry for her. He was pretty nervous himself. And here's a picture. You can see Grandpa helping Ray with Grandpa's pants. Don't worry, he said. We'll do all right. After all, Ray thought, the worst part is behind me. Just then, Ray realized he'd forgotten the wedding ring. Grandpa Half Moon still had it upstairs in his jacket pocket. Uh-oh, Ray thought. I'll never make it back in time. Racing around the bridesmaids, he was just about to shoot up the spiral stairs when he spotted Grandpa Half Moon peeking from behind one of the forest green velvet curtains. A lace-trimmed tablecloth had been tied around his waist. In his outstretched hand, waiting for Ray, was Nancy Lee's diamond ring. This chapter really made me laugh. But while I'm also laughing a little bit, I'm thinking about the relationship between Grandpa and Ray. In chapter 1, Ray really showed his love for Grandpa by trading in his high tops. And now Grandpa is showing just how much he cares for Ray by giving him his pants. Wow, I can really tell that they are very, very close. I hope you enjoyed listening to Chapter 2 from our Read Aloud Indian Shoes.